Sometimes it feels like my life has become some kind of cruel joke. My first husband cheated on me with my own sister. The moment I found out, I filed for divorce. I cut my sister out of my life too. We haven't spoken in more than 15 years. And I've never regretted that decision. Then I married again. I trusted someone again. And once again, it ended with betrayal. This time, he was having an affair with my best friend. I threw both of them out of my life without looking back. At that point, I honestly believed nothing could hurt me more. I was wrong. A few years later, I met another man. Everything felt calm, respectful, mature. He proposed to me. We were planning our wedding for August. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to believe that maybe life was finally giving me another chance. Then I learned the truth. He had been sleeping with my 19-year-old daughter. It wasn't assault. It wasn't manipulation. It was completely consensual. And somehow that made the pain even worse. Because this time it wasn't only the man who betrayed me. It was my own child. I immediately called off the wedding. I threw him out. I stopped speaking to my daughter as well. In my anger, I even made her leave the apartment, although I know legally she owns a 1/3 share of it. Now I keep asking myself the same question over and over. Why? Why does this keep happening? I no longer wonder why I end up with men capable of betrayal. What I can't understand is something else. Why have the deepest wounds in my life always come from the people I considered my family? The people I never had to choose. Somehow that hurts far more than any broken relationship ever could. My first marriage was a mistake. I married without love. It was a practical decision that seemed reasonable at the time, but the marriage fell apart. We divorced while I was pregnant. Then I gave birth to twins, and I gave them up for adoption. Back then, I truly believed it was the only option. I convinced myself it would be better for everyone. For them, for me, for their future. Life moved on. I tried not to think about it too often. I kept telling myself that the past couldn't be changed. But time does strange things. When you're young, you think you can close a door forever. As you get older, that same door somehow begins opening on its own. Today, my children are 24 years old. They're adults now. Maybe they have families of their own. Maybe they don't even know who I am. And maybe they don't want to know. I don't dream of suddenly appearing in their lives and calling myself their mother. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't believe I'm entitled to anything after the choice I made. I only wish I could see them once. Just once. To know they're alive. To know they grew up. To know they're okay. After that, the decision should be entirely theirs. If they never want to meet me, I will understand. But my heart keeps asking the same question every single day. How do you find the children you let go 24 years later?
I was 24 when I met him. We worked at the same company. He was 35. Handsome. Successful. Confident. The kind of man who always seemed to know exactly what to say and exactly how to say it. His life looked completely put together. We started as co-workers. Then friends. Then something more. At least that's what I thought. During the entire time we were together, I never once suspected he was married. Not once. He didn't wear a wedding ring. He never rushed home. He never mentioned a wife, never talked about kids, nothing. If someone had told me back then that he had a family, I would have laughed. That's how convincing he was. The relationship moved quickly. He was attentive, generous, charming. He had a way of making you feel like the most important person in the world. A few months later, we went to the Maldives together. For me, it felt like a dream. The ocean, the beaches, the sunsets, The kind of vacation people post online with captions like, "Best week of my life." I was happy. Or at least I thought I was. On our final evening before flying home, he suddenly became serious. I assumed he was about to tell me he loved me. Technically, I was right. Just not in the way I expected. He pulled out a ring. An actual engagement ring. Then he proposed. And immediately afterward, he told me he had a wife. Even now, I remember the feeling. My brain simply stopped processing information. I sat there staring at him, trying to understand how someone could combine a marriage proposal and a confession of marriage into the same conversation. He started explaining. Said he was unhappy. Said the marriage was basically over. Said he was planning to divorce her. Said he'd file the paperwork immediately if I agreed to marry him. The more he talked, the worse I felt. Because suddenly, I wasn't looking at a romantic partner anymore. I was looking at a man who had successfully lied to me for months. And most likely to his wife as well. One thought kept repeating in my head. If he could live a double life this long, why should I believe a single word he's saying now? Yes, I cared about him. Yes, walking away hurt. But there was no way I was marrying someone who had hidden an entire family from me. Especially at 24. Especially after that confession. When we got back home, I made my decision quickly. I changed jobs. Cut all contact. Blocked him everywhere. Removed him from my life. He spent months trying to reach me. Calling. Texting. Explaining. Promising things would be different. For me, everything ended the moment I heard the word wife. Later, I found her. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted to understand the truth. She looked completely normal. A real person. Family photos. Holiday pictures. A life that clearly existed long before I arrived. And that's when the full reality finally hit me. While I thought I was his girlfriend, someone else thought she was his wife. Because she was. The most disturbing part of the story isn't that he was married. It's realizing how convincingly someone can pretend to be single while living an entirely different life behind the scenes.
Back in 2008, I was deeply in love. The kind of love that changes you. The kind that becomes the standard by which you compare every relationship that comes afterward. I had a boyfriend. And when we broke up, I couldn't bear staying in the same city. Everything reminded me of him. Every street, every cafe, every place we'd ever been together. So I left. I moved away, changed jobs, started over. I thought distance would make the pain easier to survive. Eventually it did. Years passed. Then more years. I got married. Built a life. Created new memories. Whenever someone brought up that old relationship, I remembered it warmly. Sure, it hurt at the time. Sure, it took me a long time to heal. But eventually it became one of those bittersweet memories you carry quietly. Like an old photograph tucked away in a box. Until today. I met up with a friend. Just a normal afternoon. Coffee. Life updates. Family stories. Nothing unusual. Then she looked at me and said, "I need to tell you something." The moment she said it, I knew it wasn't going to be good. What I didn't expect was this. She confessed that she had slept with that boyfriend while we were together. Behind my back. While I trusted her. While I considered her one of my closest friends. While I talked to her about how much I loved him. She knew all of it. And did it anyway. The strangest part isn't even the betrayal. It's the timing. 18 years. 18. Almost 2 decades. Why tell me now? Why not then? Why not a year later? Why carry a secret like that for nearly half a lifetime? I sat there staring at her, completely stunned. It felt like someone had reached into my past and rewritten the story. Suddenly, memories I had carried for years didn't feel reliable anymore. I started replaying old moments in my head, the odd coincidences, the strange interactions, things that never quite made sense. And I found myself wondering, what else was happening that I never saw? What else did I miss? Honestly, what shook me most wasn't him. He's been part of my past for a very long time. What shook me was her, the friend. The person who spent 18 years smiling at me, sharing meals with me, listening to my life stories, and keeping that secret buried. Now I look at that chapter of my life differently. And somehow, a pain I thought was long gone has returned. Not as intensely as it was back then, but differently, more quietly, more deeply. Because when you're young, it hurts to lose someone you love. But 18 years later, it hurts to realize you were betrayed by two people at once, and you only found out now.
I'm a doctor, and honestly, my job has taken over my life. Long shifts, night calls, endless patients. There was barely any room left for a relationship. Maybe that's why everything started the way it did. For over a year, I had a casual relationship with the woman who lived in the building next to mine. No commitments. No promises. We had known each other almost our entire lives. We went to school together, grew up in the same neighborhood, and shared countless mutual friends. It seemed like the perfect arrangement for two busy adults. Not once during that entire year did she complain about what we were. She never asked for dates, never hinted about flowers, never expected romantic speeches. Even though she was beautiful and had no shortage of men interested in her. Sometimes she'd come over after another disappointing date. She'd bring a bottle of wine or beer, rest her head on my lap, and tell me how another guy hadn't been the right one. He just didn't make me feel anything. Another one brought red roses. We'd laugh about it. I'd listen. And somehow I never stopped to ask myself why. After every failed date, she always came back to me. She never invited other men to her apartment. But I had a key to hers. Sometimes she'd ask me to stop by and feed her cat if she was working late or out of town. Then one day, we had an argument. Something completely stupid. So insignificant that I can't even remember what it was about anymore. We stopped talking. Weeks passed. One day, I ran into a mutual friend. Laughing, he casually said, "So, your neighbor isn't doing too well. Apparently she's been sleeping with a pillow every night for months." I didn't understand at first. Then he added, "I think she even put one of your shirts on it." He probably wasn't supposed to tell me. I assume she'd confessed it after a few drinks. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood by my window, staring at the lights in her apartment, waiting for them to go out. When they finally did, I grabbed my key, quietly unlocked her door, walked into her bedroom, and there she was, sleeping with headphones on, holding a pillow tightly against her chest. One of my old shirts was wrapped around it. In that moment, I realized what a fool I'd been all along. I slipped into bed behind her, wrapped my arms around her, and finally said the words I should have said a long time ago. "I love you. I should have told you that much sooner."
6 months ago, I met him at work. I'm a hotel receptionist. He came with his sports team for a competition. He's an athlete, and he has a disability. We met by chance, started talking, and before long, those conversations became something we both looked forward to. About 2 weeks after the competition ended, I drove him to the airport. That was the moment I realized I had fallen in love with him. It's been 6 months since then. We talk every single day. Neither of us hides our feelings anymore. We love each other. But there's one problem. Or rather, one person. He has a girlfriend. She has been by his side for a long time. She helps him through his rehabilitation, supports him every day, and has been there while he works toward walking independently again. Thankfully, his recovery is going well. He keeps getting stronger. Now he tells me that once he has regained enough independence, he wants to leave her. For me, most people would probably think I should be happy. Instead, I feel guilty because I keep thinking about her. She loves him. She stayed when life was at its hardest. She supported him through the most difficult chapter of his life. And it hurts to think that after everything she has done, he wants to leave her. I love him. But every time I imagine what she will feel, I'm overwhelmed with guilt. Sometimes I wonder if this is one of those stories where no matter what happens, someone's heart is going to be broken